Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome everybody to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald right here on the Brushwood Media Network and YouTube and a whole lot of other places as well. We got a great show for you today. We're gonna be talking about living your best life in a financial sense and how to create the person that you really want to be. And we have an author with us. He has a company called Freedom for Life. Wouldn't that be nice? Freedom for... Hold on. The president's calling. I hate it when that happens. I really should turn this thing off, but for 20 years, I haven't been able to turn the thing off in any event, and nobody's called me all day until this very moment. So apparently that's the way it's supposed to be. Mark Collins is with us. Mark, how are you? It's great to have you on the show today.
I'm doing great, Kevin, and now I know what your ringtone is. That's awesome.
And it's one of those ringtones that, have you ever, bought a new phone and it just kind of came with the ringtone that it has? And it's like, and then you think, well, I'd like to change that, but you have no earthly idea how, because it's a new phone and it's a new type of phone. I'm there. So it is what it is. And I can't help it. But does that ringtone mean anything to you?
No, but it reminds me of mine. My ringtone is MC Hammer's song, Hammer Time.
Oh,
imagine seeing that one go off in church or in a podcast.
Oh, exactly. For those of you who don't know, MC Hammer is one of the first rap gentlemen from like the 80s, I think. Wasn't he in the 80s or was he in the 90s?
I think it was 80s for sure. And
he's no longer, I don't think he's doing rap anymore, probably because he's in a wheelchair or something from that long ago. But in any event, Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you come from. And I know you're in Southern California today.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where I live. I'm in Southern California. I tell people about 20 minutes away from Disneyland. Yay. In case you've never been here, you don't know where, geographically where Bellflower is or Brano Park. Those are the two areas I usually am residing at or working at. So as you said, Freedom for Life is an organization I started. And under the umbrella of that is all of the things I use to try and invest in people to live that positive life that you're talking about, the life that the life that you're created for, not the life that you've been given. And so for me, it's doing that through our course, Life Mastery, and then the book I wrote last November, Life Mastery, Living Life by Design, Not by Default.
When we talk about life mastery, what do we mean?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's an awesome title that you think would be great on a title, but what does it really mean lived out? And so the work I do is to help people understand life mastery for us, and what we do with people is to help them understand who they're created for, so they can have the life so they can have the tools in the life that they're created for in that. So it's identity first, and then it's living it out, not living from your outcomes and having, the trophies on the shelf or the diploma on the wall telling you who you are, but really living from the person you're created to be. And for me, Kevin, that really looks like I work with people who are highly successful, or those who are really striving to be successful, whether it's in business or in their job or in the boardroom or what have you. And what I find is that a lot of times we think that when we get there, and then we'll be somebody that's a person of value and worth. And what I try and make them aware of is, well, first off, I've worked with people who are highly successful. They get to the top of that mountain and they find out that it's empty. Then now they have to redo their success. They have to, that hamster wheel of accomplishment that they have to continue to go on. And so what I try and invest people in is help them understand, no, it's you being lived out. It's the person you're created to be. So life mastery is me living from who I'm created to be at the highest level I'm created for in every area of life.
I do have to say, it must suck really badly if you spend 20 or 30 years climbing the corporate ladder and you're really working hard, and you finally get to the goal that you thought would make you happy, and it's an empty thing and you're not happy. That must really suck. Do you ever run across people like that?
Yeah, and I think happiness is for sure part of it, Kevin, but I think a lot of it is the things that we use to show we're a person of worth and value. A lot of time, the people I work with, I tell people you're either living from who you're created to be or what your life has told you. And we've all had a life that's told us something, experiences, the challenges, the struggles, the successes and the great victories in your life as well. They all have a voice in our life. And a lot of times they tell us what we're worth. And so for us, it's really unpacking some of those things, because it's not just happiness when you get there. It's the belief that now I matter. Now I'm a person of worth and value. Like in my own life, my dad was somebody who I look up to, but it was always somebody I always felt like I never measured up to. And so in that place, for me, it was doing those things. So a lot of the work I do, in fact, all of the work I do with other people started with work I did on myself. Life Mastery was me really trying to figure out, understanding who I was created to be and have the value and worth that I had, not have all the titles and roles and things and try and prove who I was, but really living from who I was.
Let's talk about that for a little bit, because I think it's really important. In the opening, I say one of the things I say is, why are we here? And what is my purpose and why am I really here?
Yeah.
And I think at one point in time, all of us ask that question, and it could be early in life, it could be late in life, but I think at one point we all say, I've accomplished this, this, and this, but it rings shallow and hollow to me. There must be more. I must have been created to do more. How, in your experience, do you help people understand what that more is and help them create it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kevin. And I think you're right. And in fact, that was really the instigation of my journey, was really as a young man for me. You said younger or older, for sure you can do that at any time. But for me, from my youth, when I was young teenage, going into my young adulthood, I felt like there was more than the life I was living. Sometimes we understand that there's things that are holding us back, beliefs and thoughts and ideas and fear and whatever the thing is that you're struggling with or you're challenged with. But it's really this person on the inside that you believe you're more than the actions you're taking. You're more than the things you're believing about yourself or the things that are the outcomes of your life. And so for us, it's really starting to unpack. First and foremost, there's a celebration in it, right? Because there is more. So I tell people, well, first and foremost, you need to understand this. You're right. There's more than where you're at. I tell the people I work with, there's an impact in the world that has your name on it. And whatever that thing is you lived out at your highest level, your highest value, the highest impact in your life. It's not an accomplishment, because, there's that other mountain analogy of climbing a mountain and finding out you climbed the wrong one. and what that really means, as you already know, is that you're using somebody else and trying to imitate their success, believing that when I get to where they're at, well, now my life will be perfect, or now my life will be great. So for a lot of the men and women I work with, Kevin, it's not that they're not successful. It's that they expected somebody else's success and somebody else's idea of what success would look like would make them feel like there's somebody of worth and impact in their lives. And what they found is that they're still having to struggle with those things, as we talked about, the hamster wheel of success. So we start to unpack some of that. And first and foremost, it comes from, okay, well, who are you created to be apart from your outcomes? From your title, your role, your position, your possessions, and all the things that we use outwardly to prove who we are. When you can strip away who you are from that, and it can take a minute or two, it could take some conversations, and for us, it takes some tools and strategies. But when I can pull myself away from those, now all of a sudden I can see myself for who I am, and then my outcomes come from that place. My outcomes don't create who I am. My outcomes are an outcome of who I am. And so for us, it starts with identity. It starts with who are you apart from the things that you're using to try and prove who you are. When we can start to unpack some of those and give you some tools and strategies to really work from that place, now all of a sudden you can start to more clearly understand, okay, when I understand my character, my value, my worth, I understand my integrity, I understand all the things that make me me. Now you can start to understand, okay, well, what does it look like to live that out? I call it, Kevin, I call it living out the hero inside. I tell people my whole desire and passion is to help people unlock and unleash their hero in hiding in their business, their relationships, and their life. I believe everybody has a hero in hiding. Not that you're not successful, or you don't already have accomplishments in your life, but sometimes our accomplishments are really a substitute for who we are. When you start to understand who you are, now all of a sudden, like with you, I'm sure you're doing exactly what you're created for. You're skilled at it, you're gifted at it, and you probably have a great passion and desire for it. Those are the things we're trying to help people to find in their own lives.
And thank you for that, by the way, because in my world, you're right. Because and a lot of people, and I'd love your opinion on this. A lot of people, especially men. I don't know.
Mm,
I don't know if women do this as much, but it's like when I meet you, it's like, "Hi, Mark. So what do you do?"
yeah.
It's it's not who are you or take you at face value. It's what do you do? And if I'm impressed by what you do, then I think you're pretty cool. Or if you say I'm a bus driver, you're probably not as cool as why do we do that to each other?
Because we create value from outcomes. And it really is this feeling of worth, this feeling of I'm a person of value. And like I talked about with my father in my own life, having a father who was such a big figure in my life that I never felt like I could measure up to him. Well, you try and you try and either prove it to be correct or prove it to be wrong. And proving it to be wrong means trying to be successful in life. And for me, it was business and trying to succeed at that. And I was successful at it in academics and athletics. You use all the things that everybody else says will make you have this feeling of worth and value. And in that place, finding out that, well, it didn't bring the insecurity away. It didn't take away the imposter syndrome. It didn't take away the fear of failure. They just came along for the ride. Your outcomes are a horrible substitute for identity, but they're an amazing barometer of identity, meaning when I know who I'm created to be and I'm living that out, then now all of a sudden that person is a person who matters. A lot of times we look at the Instagram life or whatever, TikTok, Facebook, or what have you on TV. Back in the old days when I was watching it, it was lifestyles of the rich and famous,
Oh, I
right?
remember that show.
I love that show. And it was, look at their Monaco vacation and the yachts that they're on and the amazing things that they're doing. And you say, okay, well, that's somebody that's of worth. And so we enact that and we try and live that out. But then I'm working with so many people, Kevin, that they're in those places where they have, a level of success where other people would say, well, man, you've got it all together. But at the same time, those things that are there, they're not there. They don't have confidence. They're still dealing with insecurity. They're still dealing with imposter syndrome, or they find that they've put so much time and effort into this, so singularly focused on the thing that they're trying to achieve, that their family falters and their relationships are hindered and their health is in the back, on the back burner. And they're finding that there's outcomes that are negatively impacting their life from those. Why do we do it? Because everybody wants to feel they have value. That hero in hiding that I talked about, everybody wants to believe it. And I believe it's true. But sometimes we're using somebody else's example and trying to become an imitation of them. And like Kevin, when I try and imitate somebody else, the best I can ever do is second place.
Well, let me try this on you, see what you think. My name is Robin Leach, and I'm yelling, and I don't know why. Does that sound? How was that?
He was a perfect host I mean, if you're our age, you know who he was, but yeah, he was the host of Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. I watched that show religiously. It was amazing to see everybody else living well.
Well, and the funny thing is that when you do that and you go to those, and then you get that house, and suddenly that house doesn't seem nearly as spectacular. I got a great. When we were living, my wife and I at the time were living in our house, and she came home from visiting a friend's house one day and said, I got to tell you, this house is really cool. It's got a sunken living room and a raised dining room, and the kitchen is beautiful and it's big, and they've got the family room, and I would love to have a house like that. Well, we bought that house because it was a couple of years later. And when we moved in, she didn't think it was nearly as cool as the one that she visited. That was the same damn floor plan, but she didn't think that it was quite as cool because now it's hers and it wasn't somebody else's that she apparently looked up to. So we do that a lot, don't we?
Yeah, a lot of times we're looking for that next thing. Now Now I'm going to be satisfied. Now I'm going to have enough. Now, whatever the now is that we have in our lives. And in the place, you find out there is no now, because the next thing, and then it's the next thing. And in many cases, it's you really trying to reach that level that you believe you're supposed to have. And then it doesn't mean accomplishment isn't something that you should have. There should be outcomes to your expertise. There should be outcomes to your life. I love that people have wonderful possessions and things that they value and things that bring them joy. The challenge for the people that I work with is sometimes they're a substitute, right? There's substitute for identity in that place. They're never going to be enough, and there's always going to have to be another.
Well, and doesn't it matter? And by the way, we need to take a quick break. It's just 30 seconds, so it's not a big deal. But doesn't it matter in our lives and how we treat other people, and how the fabric of our lives can be changed by if we are feeling like what we've done in life is not significant as somebody else, and so we're thinking in terms of that they're better than me, when I don't know that there is anybody better than anybody else. But we'll talk about that when we come back. We're talking with Mark Collins, and he is a gentleman who helps people live their best life and to live a life mastery. And when we come back, we're also going to give you some ways for you to get a hold of him so that you can go do that too. We'll be right back.
They have your eyes. They have your ears. They have your smile. Now all they need is a little more of your time. Make a difference in your child's life, because anyone can be a father. It takes time to be a dad.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. We're talking with Mark Collins, and we're talking about one of the most fundamental things in life, I think, and at least it is for me, and that is, who are you really? And how are you going to live your best life and master your own existence and do the things in life that you came here to do, that you were designed to do, in fact, and that people throughout our life keep telling us, Mark, you're not really good enough to do that, and you really just need to settle down and get a job and work until you're 90 or whatever it is. But is that also a problem that we have? Is that other people expect us to do things that we don't want to do?
It's a huge challenge. Yeah, I'll tell you that. So what I tell people, and I think we mentioned this before, is you're either living from who you're created to be or what your life has told you. And it's not just our life and our experiences that have told us, right? You grew up in a poor family. You think you can never have wealth. You grew up in a family of whatever, divorce, addiction, or what have you. And all of a sudden you start taking on those traits. But there's also those aspects of the things that are said to us, right? The people that are telling you you're not good enough, or you can't, or why wouldn't you can't have success, or you can't start your own business. Nobody in our family's ever done that. Nobody's ever done this, that, or the other, or you're never going to be able to do that, Mark. How are you going to go to California and become a rock star? How are you going to, whatever the thing is that we're really striving for? So for sure, there's unfortunately people in our lives who are voices that we value, whether it's teachers, authority figures, family, that can give us a less than positive outlook on who we are. And that's where the work that we do, at least the people that I work with, it always starts with the foundation of identity. Because the only thing to overcome your past and your pains and your struggles, the only thing to overcome the negative voices of others, and just be honest, Kevin, the negative voices that you have, that are telling you can't do it. The only way to overcome it is to understand who you are. Because at the end of the day, when I know who I am, my life and the others around me can't lie to me. When I don't, then they can.
And that seems to me to be a process that is necessary for you to go through, because when I started talking about doing the radio and leaving my corporate job, which was well paid, to do that, but it wasn't satisfying for me, and it wasn't
Yeah.
something that I really wanted to do. But all the people around me said, now, hold on, Kevin. Remember, you've got a family to support, and you need to calm down. But I was remembering my father's existence of when they had the same conversation with him, he did the job until the kids were grown and out of the house, and then he retired, and then he passed away because and he led a life that was not satisfactory to him. And it doesn't matter anybody else, but just to him, he wanted more, but he didn't get a chance to have more. And I decided, screw that. I'm going to go do what I need to do. And so I went through a process to do that. Do a lot of people at one point say, oh boy, I'm just not, I can't, Mark. I just can't do it because I don't have the guts or I don't believe in myself enough, or how do you get to help them attain mastery of their own life?
Yeah, that's a great question. And for sure the answer is yes. And you know that as well, because you were on the other side of it. So
Yeah.
and I was as well, but I love your example that you were, a lot of times people vote for safety and security versus passion and calling. And it's unfortunate because a lot of times we settle for what I call life management versus life mastery. And at the end of the day, there's no great joy in it. There's just safety, and safety is a place of me being able to control my outcomes. And again, it and a lot of times it comes from, I've been disappointed before, I've tried and failed, or I tried that business or that thing, that career, and it didn't work out. I better just stay here where it's safe. Again, it's living from who you're created to be or what your life is created for. I think you're a great example, Kevin, of living from who you're created to be. Even in a corporate environment, I'm sure there was a place of communication and joy and positivity and the things that you have now that you were living then. But now you're able to actually live it fully because you're in the environment of the thing that you were created to do. And a lot of times people give up before they get there. And that's the thing that, I can't typically rekindle a fire if they've let it burn out. But if it's even small, if there's even this little maybe, but I don't know, then there's this opportunity. And I think at the end of the day, to me, that is the greatest joy I have, is showing people that there's what I call a blueprint to freedom, a blueprint to living from who you're created to be. But it does take that place of saying, I don't care what anybody else says. I believe in me and I believe about this thing in me, and I'm willing to take a chance. To me, those are the bravest people that I know, are the people that haven't tried it the first time. They've tried it the fourth time or fifth time or sixth time, and they failed before, but they just believe that this is something that I'm called to do. And despite the fact that other people want to, the crab in the bucket thing, right? You live in the Seattle area. I'm not sure if there's a story out there, but where I'm at, they have this story of the crabs in the bucket and how when a crab is trying to get out, all the other crabs are trying to pull it back in. A lot of times people try and pull you down to the median level of the life they're willing to live, instead of inviting you to unleash the life that you're created to live. You want to be around people who help you unleash that, who see it in you and are doing it for themselves, more so than around people who are inviting you to just calm down, take it easy. You don't be crazy. Just kind of, take it a step at a time. Don't worry about it. That everything will work out.
Well, and the interesting thing about that is it's absolutely true, because what ends up happening is the people that are telling you no, and some of them, their hearts are in the right place. They don't want you to get hurt. They don't want for you to run out of money or whatever it is. But what they're doing is they're sabotage. They end up trying to sabotage you. And if you feel strongly that this is your mission in life and this is what you must do, be it now or in the future, those people end up going away because you're, for lack of a better term, I call it vibration. You're vibrating at a different level. And so it no longer works for you to be around people who are negative Nellies and people that say, no, just work for another 20 years and get your gold watch. It's like, how long am I going to be alive? I need to do what my heart tells me to do. And if you don't like it, I get it. Go live your own life, find your own destiny, learn your own mastery, but don't affect mine. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that, and it really comes down to you. It's not believing that I'm better than, but understanding that I'm different than.
Yeah.
And in that place, to me, the biggest tragedy is to end your days, you pass away, and the things that you could have done, the things that you could have invested, the impact you could have made, like you talked about, right? The lives you could have invested in, weren't invested in because you chose to not. And so for me, the thing I love about my work is giving people the tools to be able to do that, to be able to say, first off, that person on the inside is absolutely who you are. There is more than where you're at, and there is a path to get there. And there's challenges and struggles, like with you in your career, I'm sure, and me for sure in mine. It's, it's not all rainbows and butterflies. It's not so super smooth and all easy, but it's worth it. Because at the end of the day, something less than the life that you're made for is always going to leave you wanting more. But when you're living the life that you're created for, now all of a sudden you're seeing your passion lived out every day, and there's nothing better.
Well, and I got to tell you, I went through, like everybody does, I went through what I call my bad country music song phase. When my dad died, my dog died, my wife left, I lost my house, I had to declare bankruptcy, and got sued for $50,000, all in a real short period of time. And somebody said, "Are you jinxed? What the hell's going on?" But it was just one of those things but it all happens to us. But if you work through it, the other side can be really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And the truth of the matter is, the hard truth that nobody wants to tell you, but everybody lives through, is the things you walk through, the challenges you overcome, give you the strength for that next level of success, accomplishment, impact that you're supposed to have. Right? If you weren't strengthened by those things you'd walk through, you wouldn't be able to do the things at the level you're able to do now. And so it's never fun for anybody, but there's purpose in that preparation for the position and the possessions and the passion to come. So, it's never an easy thing to understand, but the thing I try and make people aware of, if you have the North Star of understanding, no, this is who I am, created to be lived out, then you'll walk through those things. If you allow your outcomes or your experiences tell you who you are, then pretty much any one of them will make you give up.
Exactly. And giving up is not an option in this life. Because I've talked to a lot of hospice workers and people that have been around end of life care. And when they're talking with people who are in the near dying, they don't talk about their checkbook.
Yeah.
They don't talk about their career. They don't talk about how cool they were in their career. They talk about family, and they talk about, I didn't accomplish what I came here to do. When we come back, we need to take our station break. But when we come back, I want Mark to explain to us some tips and ways where you can find out why you're here, what you're here to do, and understand that you have got the choice. Nobody else, just you. We're talking with Mark Collins. Mark, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do they do it?
I'm a one-stop shop, Kevin, so you can reach me at my website, which is freedom-4-life.net. All of the things we're talking about, my course, my book, and all of that, you can find there. You can find my book on Amazon as well, but I have an e-version copy so that you can take it in your phone, your device, and have it anywhere you are. So all of that's on my website, freedom-4-life.net.
And you said you have an audiobook, right?
Ebook, not an audiobook yet. I'm not sure if anybody wants to hear my voice, so we're still debating on that one.
Well, I could do one for you, but audiobooks are a pain. I've got to tell you, they really are. But in any event, Mark Collins is our guest, and we're going to be talking with him right after this station break. So stay with us.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. I love playing that song because I'm a child of the 60s and 70s. And so 70s rock and roll is something that I really enjoy. But I play that commercial. Could you imagine, Mark, if you want to challenge somebody, having them be in foster care and being homeless, and then understanding their greatness and who they really are? That is a really tough journey for them to be on. How do you help people who for whatever reason don't understand the concepts that you're talking about living your mastery, and they don't think they're capable of it? How do you get them to understand that they are?
Yeah, that's a great question. And to be totally honest, Kevin, apart from what I call a transformational journey, I haven't met anybody who does understand it. My book title is Life Mastery: Living Life by Design, Not by Default. Everybody I know, myself included, is typically living by default, which means that my life pretty much is set. I try and succeed my way out of it. I try and, achieve my way out of it, get the level of income I can have. But really it's, I'm dealing with, whatever fear of failure, imposter syndrome, my past telling me what my present is, creating my future, right? We mostly live by default, not because any fault of our own, but because we don't understand that there's a difference, that there's actually an opportunity to do something. And so for us, it's really starting to unpack that idea. And the idea starts with the foundation of everything we do, which is identity. Who are you created to be? Who are you apart from your outcomes? Whether you're somebody like those young folks that were in that commercial that are homeless, right? The negative outcomes that are telling me, I'm forgotten, I'm lost, I'm useless, whatever the things are that you're telling yourself, or maybe other people have told you. Or even the other side of it, where people are trying to succeed their way out of failure by proving that there's somebody of worth, and find out that they are as empty as when they started. So for us, it all starts with identity. Who are you apart from your outcomes? You're more than the things that you're doing, right? You're more than the things that you're possessing. And so who is that person? For us, we start with an I am statement. It's really a statement that says, who are you? Your character, your value, your worth, and the things that make you you, the integral parts of who you are. And then we start to unpack it a little bit more by, I invite them to do a celebration list. And for me, I did 100. I tell them to do 20. And the celebration list is the answer to this question. What do you love about you? So whether you're homeless or whether you're somebody that's a millionaire, most of the time we won't see things we love about us before we see things we dislike. I'm not as good as, or what have you, right? It's that accomplishment thing you talked about. I don't have their home. I don't have their income, or I remember in business deals when I was in my business before we sold it, you'd even have a successful outcome of a business transaction. And you'd be like, oh, okay, well, I could have done that better, or I should have asked for that out, or I should have done this, the thing, even in success, sometimes we look at the things we didn't accomplish versus the things we did. And so that celebration list gives a couple of things. It helps them to understand, whoever's doing it, that you're a person of worth and value, that you're worth being celebrated. And by the way, that value is innately in you before you've accomplished anything. You don't have value because you've done things. You've done things because you have value. And then the third. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that in and of itself is a big paradox, because a lot of people would say, yeah, but my dad didn't think I had value, or the coach, he wouldn't let me start and stuff. Or I look in the mirror and I don't like what I see. But I don't think I've ever used this example on the air, but I think it works in this case, and that is this. You have never seen what your butt actually looks like.
I can't dispute that, Kevin.
So when you look in the mirror, that's not what it is. It's backwards. And unless you are really, really ambidextrous or can really turn, you have no earthly idea. So you have to take other people's word for it. And so if they think that you've got a cute one, then you think you're cute. If they think you got an ugly one, well, they won't say anything. But that's the kind of thing that we rely upon other people's judgment or things that actually don't even exist in order for us to establish our own worth. And that's just crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Or again, I mean, I'm still thinking about that commercial that we saw. I'm looking at my experiences to prove my worth. So if I haven't succeeded, or if I failed in the past, or if I'm homeless, or if I didn't get that job or promotion, or if my marriage didn't work out, now all of a sudden I'm somebody that's not as valuable. I'm not as worthy. And I'm here to tell you, and that's the thing I invest in the people I work with, that's not true. Your value doesn't come from your outcomes.
Right.
And in that place, there's a lesson I teach, and it's also in my book. I tell this, that you're more than the experiences you've walked through. So it's not that they don't have an impact on your life. It's not that bad things haven't happened. And I never discount tragedies or challenges that people have walked through. My desire is that those experiences don't tell them who they are anymore. And we all have examples, right? You could read it in books. You understand people. I'm sure there's people that have been in conversations with you, and maybe yourself included, who have gone through horrible things. But on the other side of that, they've gained strength and fortitude, and they've not just survived, but they've thrived beyond it. And there's other people who have gone through challenging things as well. And, to be totally honest, sometimes minimally challenging things. And they talk about it for days or weeks or months or years later. You remember that time when, Aunt Janie didn't bring the cranberry sauce to the Thanksgiving, or so-and-so didn't say thank you because I gave them a gift or whatever. And it, again, I'm not minimizing emotional impacts, but the challenge isn't the experience you walk through. It's what you do with it. And that sounds great in theory, but in truth, what you do with it is the identity statement you take from it. If you already understand walking into it, you're more than what you're walking through, then you know that you'll not just survive, but you'll find a way to thrive through it.
I couldn't agree with you more. My mother-in-law was adopted, and she was adopted in 1930. And in those days, kids went to they actually had homes where kids could go to have children if they were like 16 or something. Yeah. They checked out of school, they went to this place, they had the kid, they went back to school, and then they would adopt the baby out. Well, she was one of those. So her mother was 16. It wasn't her mother didn't love her. She didn't have any choice.
Yeah.
But this lady took that adoption for her whole life. And it affected every aspect of her life for the next 80 years until she passed away, because her adopted family wasn't good enough. They didn't love her. They loved her just fine, but she didn't. You know what I mean? And it was all stories that she told herself the entire time, and it affected everything about her life. And it was such a waste because it was just a story that she told herself.
Yeah. And what I tell people, Kevin, is this: it's never the experiences you've walked through, again, good, great, bad, or horrible. It's the identity statement you take from it that creates your future. So what it means is that, like with her, or in my own life with my father that I couldn't measure up to, or you walking through your corporate job and the Bad Country song, it's never the experience you've walked through that makes the difference. It's the identity statement. It's the statement that says, I'm not worthy. They didn't love me. Or in my case, I can't measure up as a man because I can't be equal to my dad. And in that place, you have an identity statement that lives it out. And what I tell people is your past tells you who you are. Your present confirms it. Your future lives it out. And so what that means is I'll never be greater than the person I believe I can be or that I am. And so what if your experiences are just an experience? They're not an identity statement. And if you live from who you're created to be, they're an experience you learn from. They're not an experience you're defined by. And in that place, you're able to live it out. I tell people that I work with, Who you think you are, you'll become. And so if you're able to master your thoughts and align your thoughts with who you're created to be, remind yourself through your identity, your celebration statement, and some other strategies that we use, you'll see that man or woman show up. Doesn't mean your experiences won't be any different. They'll still have been challenges you've walked through. The difference is they'll no longer define you. They'll just be something to strengthen you.
Say that again. What you just said about the challenge.
About the challenges you walk through will no longer define you. They'll just be experiences that you walk through.
No, there was a bumper sticker line that you said in there that I just love, and I wanted to write it down.
Well, I'll have to remember it again. So, okay. I mean, at the end of the day, it's this: your challenges can't define you unless you allow them to.
That was it. Your challenges don't define you, and if you allow them to, then you are going to be less than. Because it's I guess it's like if you have an experience. Now I've had tons of experiences that I look back at and go, well, that wasn't a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
But then you look at it from a different perspective and you say, but look what I learned because of that. And as an example, I drove a bus for 12 years in between the radio thing and what I'm doing now. And I drove a city bus. Now, there are lots of people that'll say, I'll never drive a city bus. That's a terrible job. But I learned a great deal from it. And I had experiences all the way from a guy pouring a beer into my fare box to a guy chasing me with a 2x4 to having to call the the medics because somebody was dying on my bus to getting rear-ended by another, lots and lots of experiences. And if I looked at it like, what a bad thing, and that was awful, I looked at it like, that was interesting. What's next?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because we even use the phrase a defining experience. This experience is going to make me who I am, or it's going to make me something. The only way an experience can define you is if you allow it to. And again, it doesn't mean I don't learn from it. It doesn't mean I don't grow from it, but it does mean that my identity isn't placed in the things that I walk through. You're a person of character and worth and value. You're a person of aptitude. You're a person of capabilities, even if you're walking through challenging times. A lot of times, like you talked about, that bus driver experiences or the experiences that I've had, sometimes you can say that, well, I guess this is all that I have, right? You define yourself and limit yourself by what you're walking through in the moment, not realizing that there's more and greater to come. That person on the inside believing that there's more than where I'm at. You're always right, because there's always more of an impact that you can have in life. That doesn't mean I got to continue to work, continue to do these things, continue to strive, continue to stress. No, what you need to do is realize that who you are is the answer to the circumstance you're walking into. You're not the question to be figured out, and that you being unleashed is the life that you're created to live. It's not me striving and accomplishing and working really hard. It's me allowing myself to live at the highest level that I'm created for. It's actually the easiest life possible. The hard life is me using my success to prove I'm somebody of worth.
And especially since you don't have to. You're already somebody of worth.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's exciting, because when you're starting to live from that place, then your outcomes start to become joy, not relief. I work with people who are highly successful in business, and before they understand life mastery and living from identity, their experiences are telling them who they are, and they're trying to prove who they are through their success. And it's exhausting, because every success is really just a relief of, okay, I didn't fail that time. Okay, now that I got to do it again. Versus the joy of seeing the outcome as, this is the character of who I'm created to be lived out, and this is the outcome from it. It's like an artist. It's like a Michelangelo or whatever artist you want to see, who sees this painting, this creation that they've made, and they understand that this is me passionately lived out, and there's joy in it.
It's interesting, because that is a false thing when you are, because success, have you heard that saying, success breeds success? Well, but the problem with that whole philosophy is success is fleeting. It doesn't last forever.
It's a moment.
So what happens when, like when I was in sales, if I made a sale, success, wow, look at me, woo. And then I didn't make a sale. Oh boy. I'm going to lose my job. So it's rather fleeting, rather than knowing that I'm good at what I do, and we'll see what happens tomorrow, and stuff. So I love what you do, and I love that you help people who. Well, let me ask you: do you find that when people come to you, are they aware, or are they really not very aware, and they're just trying to figure it out?
I think in general, everybody that invests in the things that I do and invites me into their lives to help to mentor or coach them is aware that there's something missing, that they desire more than where they're at. Many times, well, it's usually on two sides of the coin. It's the people on the one side who I really want to try this thing. I want to be a radio personality. I want to have my own business. I want to be an artist, but for some reason I keep holding back. I keep, stopping myself from doing it. And then that's those people who really invite me into their lives. And then the others are those who are at that other end. They're successful and they're like, okay, but now what? I thought it would be better. I thought my fear of failure, imposter syndrome would go away. Now my family is, not really in my priorities. So now my marriage is messed up. My kids don't know me, my this, my that. So it's the people who have climbed the mountain and found out that it's empty, or who want to get to the top of the mountain, but don't know how to get there. And in both cases, the answer is still the same. It's you lived out. It's you who you're created to be. And in that place, you'll strive for those things, not because I need them to show who I am, but because I know who I am. And this is the life I am supposed to live out. And on the other side, it's living from the place of effortlessly excellent, because it's literally me just allowing my character, my value, my worth to create the things that are the outcomes of my life.
And you're right. I have to giggle at a guy, a middle-aged man with a paunch and stuff, driving a high-performance sports car. It's like, you got, or a real small guy driving the biggest truck in the world, or somebody that is in their 40s and 50s, and suddenly they have to go get the trophy wife, rather than investing in what they're doing. Those are false choices that we make because we're not happy with ourselves. Is that right?
A lot of times they're what you could call an identity alternative. I don't believe I am, so this is supposed to show that I am. And my passion is for people to do the opposite, because the big truck is awesome. I love big trucks. They look cool. I love sports cars. Lamborghini is one of my favorite brands. But at the end of the day, they're a horrible substitute for your identity. They're an amazing outcome from your passion. So for me, you lived out, because at the end of the day, Kevin, that those people who are looking for identity substitutes will find themselves as empty as when they started. But when you're living from who you are, it doesn't matter if you're in an old jalopy or you're in the most amazing car. You know that this is what you're created for, and you get great satisfaction. For me, with the people I work with, it's the difference between success and fulfillment. Success is me just working hard enough, long enough, outworking the next person until I get that level of success. But fulfillment, at least the way that we invite people into it, is living from who you're created to be in those areas of your life that have an impact that make the world different just because you lived. That's something that is absolutely unmistakable, and there's nothing else like it than living out that passion for your life.
By the way, we're talking with Mark Collins. Mark, if somebody wants to get a hold of you to work with you, I would highly advise it. Everybody needs a coach, and if you want to live a more fulfilling life, I think you would be a good call. How do they get a hold of you?
You can reach me at first on my website, freedom-4-life.net. My courses, my materials are out there. My book is out there as an ebook. If you wanted to reach me directly, please reach me at Mark, M-A-R-K, at freedom-4-life.net. I'd love to have a conversation to see where you can start living out your life mastery life at whatever level you're ready to live it.
I think that there are a lot of people who could benefit. And, you said something that really touched me a moment ago. You said a fulfilling life. A fulfilling life can be sitting on the beach in Hawaii with one of those drinks within an umbrella with somebody that you love and just kind of being, rather than the corporate grind or having to beat the next guy or any of that kind of stuff. So fulfillment is an art form, isn't it? We need to take a break. I want you to answer that when we come back. Is fulfillment an art form that is hard to attain, or can anybody have it? We'll be right back.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
Positive Talk. I can't remember what show I'm doing. Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Mark Collins is our guest, and I want to mention something that and the reason I played that commercial is somebody in my world, friend, who had a propensity for driving and playing on with his text phone, and was going down the road probably a little faster than he should have, and crossed the center line, hit another car. That person did not survive, and now his whole life has changed because he would not put down the damn phone. I think it's crazy, and please don't change your life that way. Put down the phone. You don't need it. You don't need to just do it. So in any event, Mark Collins is our guest, and fulfillment, young man. Everybody looks for fulfillment to come from some other source, like why you get married. I want you to fulfill my life. Or why you get a new car. I want you to fulfill my life, or a new house, or a new job. But none of that is really fulfilling, is it?
Yeah, we use the word fulfillment, but what we really mean is success. Which means this: I've accomplished whatever that thing is that I'm doing. And fulfillment isn't me accomplishing a task, it's living a life. And the difference between the two is accomplishing a task is, again, the thing we talked about before the break, where you're just working hard enough, long enough to achieve whatever that thing is. I get that business success. I, get that degree in college. I get that athletic, accomplishment. I've just run a 5K, 10K, whatever the goal is that you have for your life. But fulfillment is knowing that this conversation I'm having with you is me living out the fulfillment of my life. You talked about Hawaii, and it brought me back before the break, that little drink with an umbrella in it or what have you on the beach in Hawaii. My mom and my sisters actually live in Hawaii. And don't want to be a Debbie Downer in the conversation, but last April, my mom passed away.
I'm sorry.
And I appreciate that. The very last week of her life, I was able to spend that week with her every day, all day, during the last 5 days of her life. That was a life of fulfillment. It wasn't a great and joyous time for me, but it was me being exactly where I wanted to be, needed to be at the time that I needed to be there. It was living from who you're created to be and living the life that you're created for. That was a moment that I'll never be able to replace. And I was glad I was there. And it's those times, the birth of your child, it's the accomplishment of this amazing thing that I've created. This is me passionately pursuing and creating what I'm made for, whether it's your business, it's your job, right? The thing that you're meant to do, the vocation that you have. I call it the impact that has your name on it. So that's what fulfillment is. It's not an accomplishment that you hang on the wall. It's me knowing that this is me fully alive, fully lived out in what I'm doing. And it's so much different than just something. And by the way, the outcome is the accomplishment in business, the relationship that you've gained, the job and the promotion within it that you've had, right? Those things are outcomes. But if they're just the goal, then it's really success. If they're an outcome of you living from, hey, this is me lived out at my highest level. Like I talked about life mastery, living who I'm created to be at the highest level I'm created for in every area of life. That's fulfillment. The outcomes are the success.
Exactly, and you just made me think about when my kids were born. It's an amazing experience because you're going into the hospital, just the two of you, and then and
Yeah.
suddenly there's three of you, and I was looking for the checkout stand. Okay, where do I pay for this?
Every day for 18 years.
Yeah, that's what they don't tell you. Is oh no, this baby's yours. You made it. You take it home now, and
Yeah.
then for every day for the next 18 years, or no, I take that back, for the next 30 years.
Can be.
Yeah, in my case, but it's a remark. Isn't life remarkable?
It's amazing, and it can be more amazing. But yeah, life is amazing. If it's less than amazing, then we're probably doing something wrong. And again, it doesn't mean there aren't challenges. I'm not trying to say that there aren't things we walk through. Again, tragedies in our life, death, grief, passings, challenges that come out. But in general, life is amazing. And if I could just tell a quick story, when my mom passed in April, my brother-in-law was there, and literally 5 minutes later, we were having a conversation as we were working things out and what needed to be done. And my brother-in-law said this. He said, sometimes life is really horrible. And I told him this. I said, no, life is really amazing. This is just a horrible time. And so even in an amazing life, there are those times we don't invalidate the challenges we walk through. We just understand there's something greater than this moment. And the moment will pass, and you'll still be able to walk through. The sun will shine tomorrow. There'll be a new day. Life is fabulous, and it has challenges along with it.
It's part of the deal. People die.
Yeah.
And but you know what the cool thing is? If you believe a certain way, and if you believe that there is a continuum that takes place, then it's kind of okay. My mother passed away 3 years ago, and she comes to visit me every now and again.
Yeah.
So does my brother, so does my dad, and they're on the other side and doing really quite well, and that's okay. So part of it's a matter of perspective too.
Yeah.
I would think that it's not everything is horrible. Although when my wife left and due to those circumstances, that was pretty bad. I do have to say, but I didn't have a gun, so that made more sense.
Like I said, you're more than the experiences you're walking through. At the end of the day, there's more than this moment.
And
So,
take it as if you take your life in the totality. And I didn't recognize this, but Mark, I'm a little older now, and I'm older than you, and because I've got this sample size that is over 60 years long,
that's
I can
good.
now look at things that have gone on and things that I thought were horrible, but then I can look at what happened next, and then what happened next, and they were all line up as a way of like, oh, that's why that happened. I get it, and stuff, because it's all, for me, it was all by design, because I allowed that to be. But some people don't allow that to be, and everything is horrible from that point on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're either defined by your experiences are something you walk through. As I said before, who you think you are, you'll become. And so you're either going to see yourself from who you're created to be, or what your life has told you. And I love that the bigger picture of longevity and a length of time gives you a much clearer perspective of what you've walked through.
Oh yeah, and there were lots of things that I thought were just the most horrible thing in the world. I will never forget this. I'll never live this down. Whatever. It's like, so what? It doesn't matter. And so it just, and live your life like you really mean it, and love it, and love each other. Mark Collins has been our guest. You're gonna have to come back, because you're a lot of fun to talk to.
Thanks so much. I've loved the conversation, Kevin. I appreciate your time.
And if somebody wants to get a hold of you again,
Mark at freedom-4-life.net, or you can check out my course and book at my website, freedom-4-life.net.
And your website one more time, a little slower.
Freedom-4-life.net. Freedom-4, the word for FOR. Freedom-4-life.net.
Yeah, 'cause some of us just ain't that fast with the pen. And if you're driving, I want you to re-listen. Don't you pick up a pen now. Nope, stop it. Don't. I want you to listen to the show again on positivetalkradio.net, and then you can get all the information. There's also a web page that'll have all of his information there. So do that. Do not write while you're driving or text while you're driving, please. The life you may save may be your own.
Amen.
And with that, Mark, thank you so much.
Thank you so much as well. It's been great having a conversation. Have a wonderful day.
You as well, young man. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's always